Urgent Dallas Cowboys FANS. Do not miss this. What just happened? You won't believe this one. But before we reveal the big news, make sure to subscribe to the channel because here we bring you daily videos with the latest Dallas Cowboys updates. And to not miss anything, activate the notifications. Hey, Cowboys Nation. Today we've got a story that's stirring up quite a buzz, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. The Dallas Cowboys, as you know, are in the thick of their training camp, gearing up for what promises to be an intense season. But just recently, during a joint practice with the New Orleans Saints, things got a little heated, actually more than a little. We're talking about multiple fights, a few punches thrown, and a lot of tension that's got fans and analysts talking across the league. So what exactly happened? How did this all escalate? And what does it mean for the Cowboys as they prepare for the upcoming season? Well, stay with me because we're about to dive deep into everything that went down during that practice session, the reactions from coaches, players, and what this might tell us about the mindset of this Cowboys squad. First off, let's set the scene. The Cowboys and Saints have been going head-to-head in practice over the past week, and while these joint sessions are usually a chance for teams to sharpen their skills, build chemistry, and test out different lineups, this particular practice was anything but calm. Reports are flying in from multiple sources. Some say there were as many as 8 separate incidents where players from both teams engaged in scuffles. Imagine that, Cowboys fans, practice turning into a mini brawl. That's not something you see every day, especially during a high-profile joint session like this. Usually teams keep it professional, but this time tempers flared and it spilled over. Now I know what some fans might be thinking. Is this a bad sign? Are the Cowboys losing control? Well, it's complicated. Yes, it's not ideal to see your team involved in such chaos, but it can also be a sign of a team that's playing with passion, with a fire that's burning hotter than usual. Sometimes these kinds of aggressive moments can fuel the players' motivation, sparking a sense of urgency and unity. But of course, it's a double-edged sword. If it gets out of hand, it can lead to injuries, penalties, or worse, a loss of focus. That's why head coach Brian Schottenheimer was quick to address the situation after practice. He didn't hide his displeasure. Speaking to the media, Schottenheimer called it a little chippy, emphasizing that it's not how they want to operate. He mentioned that both sides were involved in the chaos, but also pointed out that things need to be better. He said, "We're certainly not gonna take expletive from anybody," highlighting the tone of frustration, but also asserting that he expects his team to play with intensity, but within the boundaries. Schottenheimer also mentioned that one player might have thrown a punch and left practice early, which shows how serious the coaching staff is about maintaining discipline and focus. That's a key message for this team. Passion is good, but control is essential. Interestingly, despite the turmoil, there were some bright spots during the practice. Dak Prescott, as always, was throwing the ball with precision and confidence. There were multiple impressive completions, some on deep throws, some quick slants, showing that Prescott is in good form heading into the season. The chemistry with his receivers looked promising, and that's a critical factor if the Cowboys want to make a deep playoff run. On the defensive side, safety Jalen Thompson made a fantastic interception, demonstrating the playmaking ability that the Cowboys have been cultivating in their secondary. These moments, amidst the chaos, remind us that this team still has a lot of talent and potential. Now I want you to pause here for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Dallas Cowboys news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let's continue with the big reveal. Looking at the broader picture, these fights and intense moments at practice might seem like a bad sign, but they could also be a sign of a team that's hungry, eager to prove itself. Remember, this team has been through ups and downs in recent seasons. There's a strong sense of urgency among players and coaches alike. The Cowboys have been making strategic moves in the offseason, and one of the most significant was signing veteran pass rusher Von Miller. Now, Miller isn't expected to be a superstar overnight, but his experience and leadership are expected to add a lot to the pass rush, which has been a bit inconsistent in recent years. This signing signals that the Cowboys are serious about shoring up their defense, about creating pressure on opposing quarterbacks, and about instilling a winning mentality. The recent joint practice against the Saints, despite the chaos, was a crucial step in assessing where the team stands. It gave the coaching staff a real look at the starters' progress, how well the new pieces are fitting into the puzzle, and whether the team's chemistry is developing as planned. And honestly, it's encouraging that even amidst the scuffles, players like Prescott and Thompson showed they're ready to perform at a high level. It's a sign that they're pushing themselves, trying to get as prepared as possible before the season kicks off. Now, let's talk about what's coming next. The Cowboys have a big preseason matchup against the Arizona Cardinals this Saturday. This game will be another opportunity for players to showcase their skills, for coaches to make critical decisions about roster spots, and for fans to get a closer look at what this team is really capable of. The preseason is always a testing ground, and with the recent intensity at practice, you can bet that every play, every snap is being scrutinized. The coaching staff wants to see who's got the mental toughness, who can handle the pressure, and who can step up when it counts. And speaking of roster spots, the Cowboys have been making some interesting moves lately. Aside from Von Miller, they've been evaluating several young players who could make a difference. The competition at linebacker, wide receiver, and cornerback is fierce. The team is building depth, and that's crucial for a team that wants to contend in the NFC. They know that injuries happen, and having reliable backups can be the difference between a playoff run and an early exit. But beyond the X's and O's, what really stands out is the mindset of this squad. There's a clear sense of determination. You see it in the way they're practicing, the way they're fighting through adversity, and in the leadership that's emerging from veteran players. It's not just about talent, it's about mentality. The Cowboys want to be a team that plays with passion, with grit, and with the desire to win every single snap. That's what will separate them from other teams this season. Of course, all these stories are set against the backdrop of the NFL's broader landscape. The NFC is incredibly competitive this year, with teams like the 49ers, Eagles, and Lions all looking formidable. The Cowboys know they have their work cut out for them, but they're also aware that they have the talent, the coaching staff, and the motivation to make a strong push. The next 2 weeks will be crucial. They'll be fine-tuning their schemes, ironing out mistakes, and trying to build cohesion before the regular season begins. The preseason game against the Cardinals will be another step in that process, giving them a chance to see how their players perform under game-like conditions. Now, let's not forget the fans. Cowboys Nation, your team is showing signs of resilience and fighting spirit. These fights during practice might have been a low point, but they also reflect the passion and intensity that this team is bringing to every day of training camp. It's a sign that they're not just going through the motions, they're ready to leave everything on the field. And that's exactly what we want as fans. We want players who care, who are willing to fight for every yard, every possession, and every victory. Looking ahead, there's plenty to be optimistic about. The signing of Von Miller, the rising confidence in Dak Prescott, the promising young talents on defense, these are all positive indicators. But we also know that the NFL is a league of consistency, of execution, and of mental toughness. This team will need to stay disciplined, avoid costly penalties, and keep their focus sharp as they head into the season proper. The lessons learned from a heated practice are valuable, even if they're not always easy to digest. The key is how they respond, how they come together after moments of chaos, and how they channel that energy into wins on Sundays. And now, Dallas Cowboys fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this situation? Do you see it as a sign of a team that's fired up and ready to fight, or are you concerned about the chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cowboys. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, deeper analysis, and all the latest news from the Star. So stay tuned, keep that blue star shining bright, and let's get ready for an exciting season ahead. Whether this team makes a deep playoff run or faces some hurdles along the way, one thing is for sure. Cowboys Nation is louder, prouder, and more optimistic than ever. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Cowboys.